welcome.
Well, this is Patty Peterson. Finally get to meet you.
Yes.
Thank you for taking the time to meet with me.
Of course. You did all the heavy lifting. You came to rehearsal.
Well, I just wanted to kind of see how you were doing and maybe tell us about what happened, how you were before. Like, introduce yourself a little bit.
Okay.
In case people don't know you.
Right.
So introduce yourself a little bit, and then we can talk about that day of what led to that, and then your recovery journey and how you are doing now.
Okay. All right. I'm Patty Peterson, and I come from a musical family out of Minneapolis, Minnesota. And, we never really talked much about heart-related deaths in our family, except for the fact that my grandfather on my dad's side did drop dead at age 52 or so. Otherwise, I had a brother and a father die of cancer, and so that was what primarily was on the forefront of our minds when we were growing up. And what's important about that is that when I began to have heart issues in my late 20s of, preliminary ventricular contractions, whatever, the irregular heartbeats, I started to go on beta blockers, and it would really resolve it in about 2 weeks, and I could go back off them. In my late 40s, that started to happen again, and this time it wasn't helping at all for me to be on beta blockers. It never changed the rhythm of my heart. The good thing about my late 20s up until that time, for 20 years, periodically they would do an echocardiogram of my heart, because at that point they were worried about my mitral valve. And I had to do the antibiotics before anything that was like teeth cleaning related. So what was good about my discovering what was going on with my aortic valve in my late 40s was the fact that they had all of these other echoes to compare them to. So tried different medication, tried to control. This is when blood pressure issues came up for me too. Okay. And they said, well, you know what, I hate to tell you this, but now we're not worried about the other valve, we're worried about your aortic valve because you have a lot of backwash, insufficiency. And apparently that was something they said, oh, well, we're going to get in there between 1 and 5 years and replace your aortic valve. And I went, I'm a singer, I'm not a dainty singer. And I was stunned. I went home and studied for months. Where can I go in the country to have a non-invasive procedure? I didn't want to be cracked open. I didn't know what that would be like for me. I was scared. So, thinking that I was smug and on top of it, not smug, but, trying to stay on top of it in a smart kind of way, really took great care of myself. I was working with a holistic doctor in addition to my medical team, and also exercising, doing Pilates, and I really was in great shape. And what happened was the February 12th morning back in 2007, my days are packed. So I went from volunteering at my son's junior high to doing a Pilates class, a rehearsal, made dinner, went home and did a recording session, and on the way home is when I felt that burst in my chest. And I pulled over to the side of the road. Luckily it wasn't busy, about 10:30 at night. Called 911. I had the person stay with me, but it was this burst like a dagger in my heart where it spread in my body, and I didn't know if I was having a heart attack or I wasn't sure, because it felt not like I was going to lose consciousness, but I could have. I made the 911 operator stay on the phone with me. The sheriff had come to the car, and I was so nervous that I dropped my phone, and I was talking to my husband at the time, and he said, "You think it's something you ate?" And I went, "No."
Oh my goodness.
I mean, isn't that a misconception though? If you
Right.
have
Right.
something wrong with your heart, is it
Right.
something you ate? Do you have indigestion? Do you have, oh no, this was serious. It was worse in seconds, not minutes. It was getting worse so fast. So the ambulance came, and like the true diva I am, I picked up my purse and walked to the ambulance. No. And they said, well, she's not clustering with the EKG like a heart attack patient. And when I had gotten into the emergency room, they were still treating me for a heart attack, but they did everything they needed to do, the x-ray, They had the blood thinner on its way, and my emergency room physician all of a sudden was looking at my chest x-ray and said, I was looking at it, but I wasn't really looking at it, because all of a sudden he got sucker punched. And he said to himself, if I don't check her for this other thing, I could lose her. So immediately I went for a CT scan. And the CT scan had confirmed his suspicion, and that was something I'd never heard of before, aortic dissection. Well, as my husband says, and this was at Abbott Northwestern Hospital, and it was the Minneapolis Heart Institute, it was like a SWAT team, because they have this code where they send it out to the key people who are going to come in and work with that patient. And the people who came around my bedside and getting things ready, he said it was unbelievable. My emergency room said, okay, this is what's going on, explained with his hands about what happened with my aorta, that it split as though you would put two straws together, and it would go down the right way and the wrong way. And beyond that, I'm going, okay. In my mind, I held that they were going to go in and fix me and I'd be right back. I had no idea, really, what was going on. It sort of made sense, but not really. I mean, because when you think about that upside down umbrella handle, when do you really have conversations about something like that? You always talk about your heart, and I knew I had something wrong with one of my valves. So this other piece to the puzzle, I was unaware of it, really unaware of it. And it wasn't until days later, after I had come out of this induced coma, and my husband said, this is exactly what took the life of John Ritter, aortic dissection. And I went, what? You know? And so it really stunned me to the point of realizing that this is just not on the lips of people. And the more I have talked with genetic specialists and doctors and spoken at different aortic events, I can understand now that we do have to talk about this. We have to spread the word. Well, for example, my grandfather dropped dead at a young age. Tex Ritter dropped dead at a certain age. So when you speak to people about this instant death, much like you've alluded to in your postings, how many people have really died from aortic dissection of those people whose heart just stopped?
Right.
Seriously. And that is something that I always kind of cross my arms and go, when I hear of a similar scenario, did they do an autopsy? We need to know more about this. So anyway, fast forward to almost 8 years later, I have lived a very, 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 very wonderful and full life. Initially, it was really tough psychologically. I didn't feel like singing. And I came from a musical family, and I knew that when I had my kids, that was on a back burner for me too, singing and my desire for it. So I just kind of trusted that that would come back eventually. And then my sister said, we have to do something for these doctors for saving your life. So because of her, we created this comeback concert. And 5.5 months later, I was on a stage singing with my family and my band and a women's cabaret group called The Girls that I sang with. And any money that we made went to that heart hospital. Because this is the kind of thing that we need to do. And about a year later, I spoke at a Go Red for Women luncheon, and to look at all of the people in that room with corporations, St. Jude, the hospitals, and all the caregivers, the nurses, the doctors, I was so moved. It was like one of the first times I really cried for myself, because they saved my life. Every single one of those people saved my life, collectively. So it is up to people like you and me to be able to get out there and spread the word and choose to carry that torch for heart disease and aortic disease. Because for me, with the valve, you know, I'm using the American Heart Association as an opportunity to tell my story. Although it's my aorta, it's still my heart too. So becomes quite the mission, doesn't it, Peter?
Yes, yes.
It's amazing.
And that's one of the things that we're trying to do is let people know that it's not just the heart, it's what comes out of the heart.
That's exactly right.
Because my EKG was fine, and I've tested multiple times about my EKG, and everything was fine, but they had no idea what was going on with the aorta. So that's what we're trying to bring awareness is to the aorta itself, not just the heart. The heart is important, but if that aorta doesn't hold up, if it rips, if it pops, ruptures, bursts, you're gonna die, no matter how strong your heart is.
Right.
You know, so we're trying to bring awareness to that, because most people never even heard of the word aorta and what it does. So we're trying to create that awareness so people will check for it. they will know what's an echocardiogram. They will know what's a CT of the aorta.
Right.
Because so many people have gone to ER, and the doctors checking the heart for the heart attack, or they give them a blood thinner, which
Right.
unfortunately causes them to bleed out
Right.
because of the dissection. So,
Right.
I want to find ways to make that connection. Say, okay, ready? This checks for that immediately, or if possible, check for both of them at the same time, so they can save the patient, because time is of the essence.
Right.
So,
What was interesting for me after the fact is the cardiologist, Kevin Harris, that I'm working with now, was able to take all of those echoes and go back and recognize that I was born with a bicuspid aortic valve. And in the work with aortic dissection and aortic disease, one of the things that isn't talked about quite as much as Ehlers-Danlos and Loeys-Dietz and Marfan syndrome is the bicuspid aortic valve. However, once the heart issues begin, if the doctor is the kind of person who really wants to know all of what's going on, you will get that echo. And it was determined after my dissection that's probably what caused my aorta to enlarge and create that insufficiency. Therefore, when I dissected, I had an echo in January. This happened in February.
Okay.
The aorta was 4.3. My graft is at 4.6. So I have a St. Jude artificial valve with a partial mesh aorta grafted to my damaged aorta. I'm dissected to my legs, lost my left kidney. It came back 15%. But the point is, he's able to help me determine what might have been going on and what led to the enlargement of the aorta. 3 months after, I had another echo, and I asked the technician, I said, why didn't somebody tell me my aorta was enlarging? And he said, because it wasn't emergency room large. So they get to talking to you about your aorta if they recognize it's at 5 centimeters. And I say 5 centimeters is roughly about that big. Should look like a garden hose. So, in their calculations, the standard, they weren't worried about that. Honestly, a lot of the language is being talked about now differently, depending upon what's been going on in people's families.
Right.
And, speaking of people's families, anybody who's had a dissection, your first degree relatives, your parents, your children, your siblings, every 2 to 3 years, the language has changed now that everybody should have an echo to make sure that they have the measurements done. It was every 5 years. They've changed that now too.
Oh, okay.
So that's an FYI, everybody.
Okay. Well, that
First degree relatives.
That goes along with what we were trying to accomplish, is to reverse the statistics from 80% mortality to 80% survival. And to do that is to detect it early. So there's not even a dissection that even comes up. They will be able to check for the enlarged aorta. Oh, now we've got to be careful, or we need to operate, or whatever, so that the dissection issue never even comes on.
Right.
And if we could accomplish that, I think we can save a lot more lives, because people are getting their aortas checked, and if it's enlarged, take care of it before it dissects or before it even ruptures. Because once it ruptures, it's emergent condition. So
Absolutely emergent. Oh my gosh, I guess so, huh? Let me ask you a question now.
Okay.
How are you doing?
I have my good days and bad days,
Yeah.
But the mission must go on, and I have a lot of help right now. People across the world are helping Aortic Warriors,
Good.
so I can kind of step back a little bit, so it's a little bit less stressful. But I love to meet people like you that are still just continuing life, and that's the question I wanted to ask you is, after it happened, after surgery, what happened, and then I think you alluded to that 5.5 month. You started singing again or performing again. But during that 5.5 months, what were you going through? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, it's like, boom, I almost died. I've never heard of this aortic dissection. Now I have a big old scab on my chest, and I feel like I'm going to die. A lot of people go into depression from there. So how did you feel during that 5.5 month? And maybe you can talk about that.
I am not your average patient, perhaps. I saw my mother go through an awful lot. And she remained a rather up individual, up personality-wise. I took it matter-of-factly. I had a new lease on life. I knew that I had another chance at life. The thing for me was more spiritual about, you're in that scenario and they're working on you, and it's not like your spirit goes, well, you missed a spot, I felt like after I came back, I had a communing of sorts. I don't remember anything about it. It was a feeling I had. So with that feeling, and with the studying of spirituality I've done, I would tell people when they called to see how I was doing, I'm better every day. Because I wanted to tell myself, I'm better every day. And I think that any of the patients, any of the people who have gone through this, if they were to look from that day one to where they're at in their journey right now, they're better every day. It doesn't mean that it eludes, that it takes away the fear. I don't live from that place. That's why I say I think I'm unusual. I was very quiet that first month, but I put my face on every day. I took a couple showers to help me with the pain. I wondered if my chest would ever grow back, not be one side bigger than the other. I wondered what this would look like. Would I ever be able to wear a V-neck again? Very, when you think in the grand scheme of life, rather minor. My restrictions were lift nothing over 50 pounds.
Okay.
That's my restriction.
Wow.
And probably maybe now 30. He'd like to see, I've got 4 boys and I have got 5 grandchildren now. So, I have to keep all of that in the back of my mind. That never goes away. What happened to me never goes away. But the fact that I'm here for a reason. And I've read that some people say, I'm here for a reason. Well, I don't want to be here because I don't like all this stuff that's happening to me. I realize how fortunate I am. I don't have a lot of the secondary things that have gone on with some other people. And the gift back to me is, as I got stronger, as I was able to heal, I became busier. I watched my son, who was 14, graduate. I watched my kids get married. Pardon me. The summer after my dissection, my oldest got married. I've watched my grandchildren come into the earth, and they're 5 and younger. And I was at my mother through the last few years of her life. I was with her and took care of her. The rewards that life has brought me by being on this side still has more numerous than I can explain. I still get to get up on that stage and I get to sing from my heart about life. There was this one aha, I have to tell you. It was about 1.5 years and people are going, Patty, you got to write a book. Nobody survives this. You've got to write a book. You have to tell people your story. And I'm like, everybody goes through stuff. What can I possibly say to people that's going to help them? Until I was singing this church service, and I had a gal almost sitting on the edge of her pew, and she was looking at me and looking at everything that was going on as though she was almost testing us. But not really. She and a friend were there, and I, in between the services, said, thank you for being here. I mean, she goes, Patty, I love your family. I love the songs you picked. And I said, well, some people, I'm so lucky. Music follows us in our life, but I have these great platforms in which to sing them. She goes, no, Patty, you really live your gift. So if there's one thing I want to tell anybody listening is to find out what your gifts are. To move out of that fear and that thought that you're going to have an ultimate death that's going to be, if you do one thing that might aggravate your aorta. No, find out what makes you happy. Here's what I have found out is that if you find that and live your gift, if you find out what that is, are you a good listener? Do you like to sing? What do you like to do? It helps your relationships, whether it's your relationship with, your family, your coworkers, but mostly the one with yourself. Find your gifts and live from that place, and truly live your gift. And I know that I'm going all over the place here. It was not fun to come back from this. There's no question. Between having a goal and cardiac rehab, I mean, out of it, my ribs were popping out of place. My back was killing me. It took me 3 breaths to say one sentence. And I can hold a note forever now. So being patient until I felt better and gotten to the other side. There were days I would cry. I would definitely cry. But each day, each thing I did to get stronger, mind, body, and soul, helped me get to the place that I am today, 8 years later. And one thing I tell anybody who calls me, who needs to have a conversation, is live your life. Live your life. Live your gift.
Right.
You know? Because it is scary, and we can all live from that place of fear. And you can live from the place of possibilities.
Yes.
And I think you do that, Peter.
I do.
I know you do. You're quite the warrior.
Thank you, thank you. I think everything you've been through, everything you talked about is, every survivor goes through that. And I think that's why I came up with the phrase, never stop living. It goes along with what you just said.
Exactly.
You gotta just put that foot forward. You just gotta live your gift, as you
Exactly.
say. And perhaps a lot of people need to discover their gifts. A lot of times they don't look within themselves.
Right.
And perhaps that's what we need to do, because I think that's what I had to do when I'm laying in bed and I couldn't move. Feeling depressed. I don't know what to do. Am I going to die at any moment? The thing is ticking. The thing is like pounding in your chest, and
Oh, didn't that take some getting used to?
yeah, oh
Holy
yeah,
bro-
oh yeah, clicking every.
I don't think I was
second.
I don't think I really slept well for about 3 weeks.
Uh-huh.
Because that is some son of a gun to get used to. Isn't it? I call it my kick drum. If anybody plays drums, it's that bass drum and the foot pedal. It's like, oh my gosh.
Right.
We both have it.
Yep,
Tick, tick,
yep,
tick.
yep, yeah, and my patients hear it too, and inside the treatment room, they were like, "Doc, do you have a clock in here?" I said, "It's
Sort of.
digital." I hear a ticking sound, but I don't, tell them about my heart.
Well,
It's funny.
Back to that, wearing a V-neck, bring it on. Let's talk about this.
Right,
Yeah, I have a
right,
scar.
right,
And the thing is that if people notice it and they want to know about it, what a beautiful opportunity.
Right. Yep. Exactly. So
Yeah.
I kind of use that as a way to tell people or teach people more,
Right.
educate people, bring awareness about the water. Yeah.
Yeah. We're so fortunate, so blessed. We have an opportunity to spread this word because we're here.
Right.
And you know what I would say to people is get empowered. Know what it is. Ask questions. You are your own best advocate, somebody who's been through this. And know what your gifts are. Live your life. Get out there and live your life. Don't be trapped in fear and restriction.
Yes.
I mean, listen to your doctors,
Right. Yeah.
but get empowered and live your life and take care of yourself.
Yes. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I plan on singing to you guys a lot longer. Absolutely.
I think that's like my hobby before my dissection was bodybuilding, and my doctor says no more,
Yeah.
no more.
Was that tough?
Oh yeah, it was tough. It was like, to me, worse than death. At least when
Yeah.
you die, everything's over.
Right.
But now you have to live with not being able to do what you love doing.
Right.
And some people, I interview a professional bodybuilder, Chris Dim,
Okay.
and he said the same thing. It's like when the doctor told him he cannot lift again. Most people don't understand what that means.
Right.
But imagine doing what you've always loved, like in your case, singing.
Yeah.
If the doctor says you'll never ever be able to sing again, it will kill you. That is like, you might as well just take my heart out.
Right.
And so that was difficult for me. But a few months after my dissection, 8 months later, I went back to the gym and just started just tiny weights, 2
Yep.
pounds,
Yep.
just doing something. And I think that's where I am able to, that's why I'm able to be where I am today, is because I went and did something.
Yes.
And a lot of people, when they're afraid to do anything, that's where I believe their recovery gets prolonged.
Yes.
You went and did something.
Yeah.
You kept singing again.
Yes, I did.
You kept performing. And in the beginning, I'm sure it was hard. It was probably
really hard.
difficult to stand up there for more than, 15 minutes. But you did it. And then now you are able to, like you said, you're
I
able
had
to
I
sing.
had to sing on a stool.
Mhm.
I had a limited amount of time I could be up there, but I went back and I had the vision of what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go again. So yeah, these
Yeah.
are all really great points.
Yeah.
They really
Yeah.
are.
And I think that's why I want to do this interview with you, because I want people to hear that and know for themselves that now they've met someone who's gone through it, rupture, and still live with the dissection, and still living their life fully. And I want them to, meet you
Good.
on video and
Good.
And be inspired, be motivated, so that they can live without fear or have less fear. I think we all live fear like, oh my good, oh, I just feel something weird. It's like, is this my last?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
and I mean, I think it's the severity of the dissection and the lack of knowledge and just what would happen. I mean, my dissection also, it's down my left arm and up my right carotid artery. So when I sing a high note, I know I make cardiologists nervous.
Okay.
But you know what? I'm still here. So I guess I'm okay.
Yeah.
I haven't goofed up anything yet. My 2 favorite words in the world: no change.
No change.
After my MRI every year.
Okay.
No change.
Yes, I think that's what I look forward to.
Yep.
I think coming up Tuesday is my next one.
Is it?
So yeah, so far it has been good, and I've even seen numbers got smaller.
Oh, good.
So I don't know if that's for real, or just the angle of the thing.
It is the angle. It's the technician.
Okay.
Yes,
yeah,
because
that's what I think. So, but who knows? Hopefully, factually, somehow it got smaller. That would be awesome.
I would love it. Maybe we can will it.
Yeah.
But that's true. I mean, the other thing that we should talk about is the fact that because you live your life and you may have a valve and a graft like we do with the mesh aorta, that doesn't mean that they don't watch the parts of your aorta that possibly could become enlarged. For example, the first year and a half, they couldn't lower my blood pressure to a place that wouldn't compromise my aorta. Okay. And it turns out that a nurse practitioner realized my potassium was at 3.
Oh, okay. Yes.
When you have low potassium, it raises your blood pressure.
Right,
Your
right.
raised blood pressure
Yes.
makes more coursing through your veins,
Yes.
and that can, enlarge your aorta.
Yes,
It can
yes.
damage you, And so after we found that out, for the last several years, I've had no change. They're watching now that my aorta at the graft is 4.7 before the arch, before the the left arm and the arms and the carotids, and what they'll watch for me in my future is whether or not that gets to a place in the 5s where they would have
Right.
to go back in
Yes.
to repair that as well.
Yes.
That's going to be tough.
Yes.
But guess what? I'm not there.
Right. Right. Exactly.
So I'm going to live my life.
Yes.
They watch me like a hawk. I live my life.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And it's working for me. It's working for me. I got tiny arms that hug me around the neck. And I raised 4 boys. I've got 2 little granddaughters now, and I've got 3 tiny grandsons. And my life is full, and I do anything I want. I don't go on rides anymore. I don't go horseback riding anymore. You know, all those funny things that I might want to have done because they don't want you to rupture anything. Those are my restrictions that I've been told.
Horseback riding?
Yeah, if you trot, like that. If you go on a ride, anything that would cause sudden jerking for the hardware. We got new hardware,
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know about the horse riding.
All of that stuff. Anything that would be too tough on your body. It's kind of like heave-ho with too much weight. You have to be careful of that,
Okay.
just like you'd have to be careful of those things.
We can
too,
just,
so.
on a normal ride is okay, isn't it? Unless you have to crawl.
Yeah, yeah, no galloping.
No galloping,
I don't know.
exactly. No galloping. Yeah.
No big rides at Universal. But anyway.
Okay. All right.
Well, thank you so much.
No, thank you for your time.
Absolutely. I know we could talk forever.
Yes,
Let's
yes.
do that. Let's keep the conversation going.
Okay.
And to everyone out there who is just experiencing this, listen to your doctors. Get better. Get stronger. And one thing that my emergency room doc did tell me when I went back in after 10 days, feeling so wiped out and not able to sleep, he said, Patty, get up and walk. The best thing you can do is get up and walk.
Yes.
It'll help your sleep. It'll
Yes.
help your psyche. Everything.
Yes.
That's not going to disturb anything.
Yes.
And as you continue to heal, it's going to be the best thing for you. I walk a lot still. Keeps me strong. Keeps me really strong. So.
How long do you walk a day?
Yeah, a couple miles.
Couple
several
miles?
just
Wow.
yeah, just several times a week. It gets cold in
Okay.
Minneapolis. Sometimes I don't do enough. But I have a trainer.
Okay.
We work it within my weight limit.
Uh-huh.
And my goal is to stay strong from the inside out.
Yes.
So
Never stop living. Stay strong.
Stay strong.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
It's great to meet you.
Oh, it's so great to meet you both. I loved it.
Thank you very much.
I loved it. Take care. Live your gift.
Yes, thank you.
Child.